disappear. One day it's like a miracle. It will disappear.
Hopefully, like a miracle, Trump will disappear.
So isn't that crazy? Oh, Magic Hour, we had like everyone was like, "Why you sure you want to use like a mutating man for the virus?" And now everyone gets it now. Okay, now you get it now. We here at Black Power Magic Hour, we understand science. So and we make fun of it too, even though it's terrible things happening. So
and the shit we don't understand, we talk to real experts, not some dude with some fucking random ass fucking YouTube video.
Demon semen, what that was going on. So
hey yo.
Yeah, so I want to share this real quick, and I think Dr. Reginius, I think a lot of things people kind of get worried about the mutation that's going on. People think the mutation is going to turn them to like I Am Legend zombies to get this kind of, but it's not that. It's a little more complicated than that.
I could save you. Yeah. I could save everybody.
So pretty much you have the situation. Everyone heard about the UK variant, which is it's not more lethal than the vaccine, than the coronavirus we deal with now. It's just more contagious. But then this other South African strain, which is a little more concerned about this one than UK and UK. So tell me about this, Dr. Reginius. Why are people more worried about the South African strain than the UK one that just popped up in New York State? It's probably only in New York City. If it's upstate. So
I think the UK variant is here in New York and I think Colorado. So the issue with the difference between the UK variant and the South African variant is that there seems to be a mutation specifically affecting the spike proteins on the surface of the virus that the virus normally uses to interface with your cells to take them over, so that it can inject genetic material into that cell and then force that cell to produce more of the virus. So it seems like the actual spike proteins have changed a bit. And the problem is the mRNA style vaccines that these pharmaceutical companies have developed target the spike protein. So if there is some kind of material difference, if there is a significant difference in the way that the virus is developing itself, particularly with the spike protein, then the vaccinations may not work as well. So what researchers are trying to do now is see if there's a way that they can adapt the current vaccine, the way that it's currently formulated, and then see if they can account for the mutation that's being seen in South Africa currently.
Yeah, so it's definitely the watch. I want to go back to the screen. Definitely in South Africa. Here in Black Power Magic Hour, people don't remember we covered the vaccine trial that happened in South Africa. They tried it out there, and that particular vaccine now is available. It's been passed by the trials. It takes Johnson & Johnson vaccine. You only need one dose, compared to like the other ones. We need two ones. So pretty much like Dr. Reginius was saying, that the government scientists say that like the South African variant, the new Spanish strain appears to be more easily passed between people, but they expected to respond to vaccines in the same way as the more widespread versions of the disease. But at the same time, there's still concern about this one particular mutation. So that's what's going on with that. I just want to show people what's going on, and go back to what we was talking about before about the trials that happened in South Africa that we covered in Black Power Magic Hour. They tried at least 7 different sites across South Africa. Wow, some 35,000 people involved in the Johnson & Johnson trial. They tried it out in Africa when the Johnson & Johnson vaccine requires only one dose. So it makes it a little more advantage, because right now we have an issue right now because we got such a shitty management of this country, of the vaccine, that we didn't get enough vaccines. People don't trust the vaccine, and even don't have enough vaccines in the first place. So already even more distrust. Okay, now you want to like figure out you always want to try another vaccine with me from another company because you don't have the same one. This is kind of situation that's happening, especially in Britain. So it's this weird situation right now. We had this one situation when the pharmacist, he destroyed vaccines on purpose, because he was worried that it was going to change the DNA of people. He thought he was like a hero or something like that. So So that's what's going on. So the story I really want to touch on is about this whole idea that people are worried about, the vaccine changing the DNA and all kinds of stuff like that. And you have to realize there's stuff in your everyday life that can permanently change your DNA, from like trauma to the way you eat as a child. All these kind of things could determine like your physiological characteristics and illnesses as you get older. And this is a great article that kind of talks about it, and the real break it down how environment impacts health pretty much. While people are worried about this one vaccine you're gonna get like twice, maybe if you can get it this year or next year, day-to-day life can impact your DNA. Can impact your DNA. So like it's interesting.
There's one thing I wanted. We covered this before we went on the air.
Yeah.
This is one of the reasons why it was so important for people to care more about their fellow neighbor than their right to wear or not to wear a mask, because every single time a virus enters into a new host, it shares some of its genetic material with the host DNA, and it takes on a bit of the host DNA on itself. So every single time someone is infected, and then the viruses that come from that infected person is going to be just a little bit different than the person that's going to be infected next. So every person that is in that particular daisy chain has a chance of substantially changing the virus and causing mutations. So if we were able to get people to socially distance instead of crying and whining about haircuts and restaurant visits, then the chances that the virus would have shown, all these different mutations that might make a vaccine useless, the chances of that actually go down. So there's so much more to the social distancing and some of the lockdown rules than just, whether or not an older person dies or somebody becomes a long haul victim of the infection, and they don't stop coughing for however long, or they can't taste stuff, or they can't.
People have headaches.
So,
people have long-term headaches. So weird.
But it's even more
heart
than
conditions.
that.
Heart conditions.
You don't know if the virus mutations is then going to cause them to attack different organs in different ways, and then make the death toll higher with some strange form that just took hold. I mean, you just don't know with viruses.
Yeah, another situation is Britain. Reason why they're able to detect these variants of COVID-19 is because of they have way more testing happen there. So they're able to detect more variants. Who knows what other variants might be in the United States already that have been created here because of our lack of response for this situation. So, I mean, it goes back to this article saying that, environment can affect, the proteins in your DNA pretty much, from psychological abuse, how you get fed, to parents not being there, to asthma, all these different things, to how long you're breastfed. All these different things can affect your DNA. These are day-to-day things, but no one's destroying poverty or nothing like that. No one's going to war on poverty, because that's what will fight that kind of war, changing your DNA. Poverty. Most of the time, people are being affected by this is because of poverty, how they affect the DNA of their children, especially. But no one's doing it. No one's doing radical things about that. So it's just like you need to notice the environment that you're in. What's going on? GMO things is another situation that people totally this article is crazy to me, because it's just it kind of gives it in a positive light. I guess it shows that kind of if we genetically modified food, oops, I don't want to use that one. If we genetically modify food, we can grow them better. That's the kind of excuse that they're saying for genetically modified food.
Yeah, but when you fuck with a substance at the DNA level and then you ingest it, it's going to affect you at the DNA level, and sometimes the effects are not going to be seen in a year or 2 or 5 or 10 in a wider cross section of the population. You might find out 15 or 20 years, or maybe 2 or 3 generations down the road, that it did something to us that was unfortunate.
Yeah, so this crazy thing pretty much talks about how they're modifying things from like soybean oil to tomatoes. It's crazy. I mean, if you need to look at this to understand endonucleus, to understand what's going on with your food, maybe you shouldn't eat it. But I mean, so but it kind of talks about it. It talks about tomatoes are suited for shorter growing seasons. Mushrooms that do not brown. A strain of low gluten wheat targeted the booming gluten-free market. So these are things that are manipulating the DNA on a genetic level for food, and the risk of off-target editing that can happen. So this is like an old article from like 2007 or something, 2018. So no one was like trying to blow up stuff, and no one was doing anything about this. No one really does anything. People just go to McDonald's and call it a day. So this is like the day-to-day stuff that this is the ocean of things that happen. Like people are concerned about the DNA, whatever concerns you have about the COVID-19 vaccine. This is day-to-day stuff that, who knows what's going on.
What happened when you told me about that McDonald's? How did I respond when you told me earlier today about that McDonald's that's closing near West 4th?
Oh yeah, so all New Yorkers, if New Yorkers out there watching a Black Power Magic, we have people watch all over the world, but there's like Dr. Eugene's and I used to hang out this part of the city as well. And there used to be an infamous McDonald's there. It was kind of like the bathroom stop. It wasn't really like, a place you sit there and hang out. So they probably closed it to contain the coronavirus because they probably mutated the new coronavirus from that McDonald's because that McDonald's was off the chain.
Yeah, that's where people went to empty their bladders and fill up their veins.
So this McDonald's actually across the street from like kind of a famous basketball court, the Cage.
Yep.
And now that McDonald's is closed in West 4th Street.
What was my response to that when you hit me with that? That this morning?
Dr. Genius wants all the McDonald's to be shut down. So he wants the genetic DNA modifying burgers to stop. So
Messiah wants all the police officers to be put on a spaceship and then flung into like the deep black void. That I want all of the garbage that people put in fancy packaging and call it food.
Like McDonald's or Taco Bell.
Yeah, I want all of that shit. I mean, maybe you could give the cops on the ship as it goes into deep space somewhere.
Will Ronald McDonald be on it?
I don't know, but they might run up against Star Trek Voyagers.
So that's going on with the virus. We just want to get like perspective about how DNA can change your body everywhere, vaccine or no vaccine.
Yep.
So
that's another reason not to want the fucking virus in your body. It's going to change your fucking DNA.
So exactly. So please wear a mask.